filled with fox ladies.
That is not at all the case.
We weren't doing that.
I was able to contact him through. Oh goodness, I have forgotten now how I contacted him. I know it wasn't
It was
through.
Twitter.
It was
Twitter.
There are a lot of people I've contacted that way through Twitter, but I don't think it was Twitter. Anyways, the point is, we found this guy. I was able to set up an interview with him, and he was a great guy. He sent me pictures of the prototype, and he had sent me like a picture of it, like a video of it going into the NES and playing it, and it looked legit. Even down
if you
to
look up the TK69 card, it has these sort of unique stickers on it. There's even this Sharpie line down the middle, just like randomly, like somebody just went. Psh.
Yeah, because they would use like recycled cartridges to put their prototypes together, and so there was a red marker line down the middle of the prototype, and that even had been replicated. Like somebody really took the time to make that marker line look like it was in the right direction at the right angle and everything.
Yeah, we ended up asking them to open it up, and we took a look at it, and it ended up just being like a mess.
Yeah.
In the shell.
Well, funny enough, I ended up contacting, for my own purposes, educational purposes, contacted who I thought was the previous owner of the cartridge, because it had been missing for like 14 years. And it turned out he still had it.
Oh.
And
he was just like, hey guys.
In a safe the whole time.
Oh, I just hadn't brought it out. And so like, somehow we managed to convince him to hold it over a boiling pot of water until the stickers fell off and then open it.
Well, it didn't, no, that's
my brightest moment.
We helped him safely remove the label using a method that I know a lot of wine bottle label collectors have, where they try to peel off the label as safely as they can to be able to put it back on if they needed to, but it just melts the adhesive enough that they can pull it up safely and then it'll recool and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we can honestly talk. We spent we spent months of our time sinking into Earthbound Zero, Earthbound Beginnings, the whole sort of where the prototypes now and where did they come from, and it's something that we can talk about forever, which is insane, and it's just such a fascinating case.
But yeah, the point is like people are willing to go.
There's actually one prototype that it did Nintendo Urban Legend prototype that is the holy grail of Nintendo thing, which is the thing that's the PlayStation and the Nintendo CD one, but the PlayStation.
That was real.
Yeah, everybody saw that on Reddit.
It was awesome.
That's cool.
That is the holy grail of Nintendo prototypes.
Yeah, stuff like that exists. I've seen it. I've touched it. I keep some underneath my bed.
Yeah.
You had a question. You with the Hawaiian shirt and the beautiful hair.
So you talk about the legal repercussions of selling these, counterfeit games, obviously.
Yes.
Are there any legal repercussions for, potentially, for actually owning these counterfeit games, or like?
Yep. I don't know. Let's ask a lawyer. Yes. Lawyer says yes.
Yes, there are.
Yes,
And,
there are.
Depending on how much more of an answer you want, I will give you one. But the answer
Okay,
is yes, you can be held responsible.
I'd like to end on that one.
So, do you guys have any random questions? Want us to shut up? Want me to tell an interesting story?
Recently, with all the ET cartridges being found, people are trying to sell regular ET cartridges as things found in the landfill. Don't believe it, because basically all they have to do is say, hey, this was found in the landfill, it's treated like trash because it was in a landfill. Any ET cartridge you're going to find is probably going to be treated like trash. And even the seals they have with it, they're basically gray bags. They're so easy to replicate.
I mean, you could throw it in like some dirt. You could like roll the bag around in the dirt a little bit and call it good.
If you wanted it to be authentic, you could go to the landfill and throw it in and take it out.
Yeah.
And you could technically say, oh, this is from the landfill. You wouldn't be lying.
Basically, it's the Hollister jeans of video games. That whole sort of pre-aged look.
Yeah.
Only a few actually from the landfill were sold.
So, questions? You, Hansy McGee.
Two things.
Two things.
One, when you say the prototype cartridges, you're talking about the carts with the temporary ROM inside, right? Not
Yes.
the permanent ROM?
Yeah, EP ROMs.
Okay, great.
Just sort of flashed on.
And the second thing is a story about in high school, a friend of my brother's friend accidentally went to, he went up to Walmart on purpose, but he went to buy Smash Brothers Brawl, and he didn't realize that it wasn't factory sealed when he picked it up. He bought it, brought it home, and apparently he opened it up and it was a totally different label than was usually on the disc. And he's like, what is this? And so he put it in and it wouldn't read. And so he brought it to my brother and I, and we looked. It was an empty disc that somebody pasted with a fake Brawl
Those are the
label
Walmart.
and put it back on the Walmart.
I mean, I've totally never stolen anything from Walmart and replaced it.
I sincerely hope you know.
I totally did scratch my CD of Halo, then buy a new copy, then put the scratched one in, and return it to
Oh my
Walmart and
God.
say it was scratched.
Remind me there's a lawyer in the audience.
That would be fun ethical. And just sort of to prove just how easy it is to pull something over on the gaming community, me and I think,
Oh my goodness. Okay, I know what's gonna. This is
no, this is a different story. That isn't
okay.
Is this the Keenan
No,
story?
it isn't that time that I was on.
This isn't the girl who must have.
This is not the girl who lost her feet to video games. If you Google that, you'll find a cracked article with my face on it. I love that article. But another one was me and my buddy, we were on Nintendo Age. Nintendo Age is a very popular game selling, reselling website. And so we decided to sort of pull an early April Fool's joke where we would bring up, hey, is it on? Yeah, turn off your phone. So what we did was we made some very, very good, just fake Game Boys. There's a very rare Game Boy variant called the Heart Game Boy. It's a pink Game Boy with a heart painted on it. We made one. We made it in my garage. It took like 20 minutes. And then we had people contacting us from all over the freaking planet after we posted that early April Fools for like hundreds of dollars wanting to buy it from us.
Yeah, it was literally just a Game Boy with a heart painted on it.
So in the end, never buy anything. That's the moral of the story.
When I worked at GameStop years ago, I had to explain to a woman that the 20 Game Boy Advance games she brought were all fake. I could point out everything to her and she couldn't believe it. My question is, like, what is the most bootlegged thing you've ever seen, like, terribleness-wise?
Me personally, there's this infamous, I forget the name of the game. I think it's something like Super 9/11.
What?
Like, it has on the front. I'm so sorry, by the way, but this is the answer. It's like it's a Chinese clone of like a Metal Slug game for the Game Boy Color, I believe. And like the cover art, it's like Osama bin Laden's face. You're gonna have to Google the actual name because I forget. But yes, that was the most obvious bootleg thing I've ever seen in my life. And this was like some Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff tier stuff where they like cranked up the saturation and like it was magical.
In some ways, it really wasn't 9/11.
I have seen, and this was in the same store on the same day as the Harry's Legend card. In fact, it was right sandwiched in between that and I think a English translation of Final Fantasy II for NES. And it was a copy of Earthbound Zero. It was Earthbound Zero at the time, and it just said Earthbound on it in what was very obviously like straight out of Microsoft Word, red text. It looked like it had been printed on normal sticker paper and like stuck on the front, and it had. It looked like it had a one of the clay models of Nintendo. Just like slapped on the front with a black background, and you could see like the little dead pixels on the edges. It was $80 is what they were charging for that.
Someone paid $1,000 for it. You, guy.
Okay.
You. Glasses. Shoe eyes.
Just a fact, I'm pretty sure almost everyone knows this, but as in third world countries, and I'm from one, of course, but I was at a store about 3 years ago back in Bangladesh, and they were selling the best looking counterfeit ever. Harry Potter came out in the theaters. They already have it in DVD, and I can tell you, we actually brought a copy of that, and it was basically the worst theater rip ever. Every 5 minutes, there's an EN.
Oh.
Just the end every 5 minutes? Every 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
What's really crazy?
I don't think my heart can handle that many
Well,
cliffhangers.
I got something else I can. No.
Dendy's
Chaos Black. If you heard of Pokemon Chaos Black.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bootlegs in the background.
Hologram. Yeah, that's how you know it's real.
Do you have the video that you made Keenan make? I think that would be good
No, we're
content
not
for
showing
this.
that.
Okay.
We're not digging up my
You
old videos.
mean the video of a boy destroying an Earthbound cartridge?
It was like Madden 95 and I put a sticker on it. And then I put it on gasoline.
Yeah, well, we got like 2,000 dislikes.
But I made $80 in AdSense.
Welcome to the future of journalism.
Video game journalism, seriously. One of the interesting things that me and Josh discovered while we were out there rooting about, looking into whether or not you can fake, make a very high-end counterfeit game, was that a lot of basically after Nintendo stopped making NES cartridges, they had a lot of chips and boards and just like pieces and parts left over. And so what did they do with all these parts? They didn't go into some warehouse. Some of them did, but a lot of them were actually sold off to Taiwan. This is before Nintendo. Before America and Japan sort of really opened up economic borders to China. And so as a result, it actually just went to Taiwan, which is an interesting caveat in history. But the fact is that all the necessary components to make a legitimate counterfeit out of real Nintendo parts, you could buy in Taiwan from wholesalers.
You can buy EPROMs for like the exact same model of EPROM used on multiple of the
Nintendo prototypes.
Yeah,
Like, not
multiple
just-
of the prototypes for like, you can buy like a pack of 5 of them for pretty cheap, honestly. Like you can buy them for like a
And
dime.
it just shows that if someone's willing to put in the time and the effort to make the best counterfeit, they'll end up making really a work of art that in some ways will be worth pretty much the same as a counterfeit because they're such a rich and interesting story. And you can see this mirrored in other collectibles as well. I'm of course referencing the famous Omega Double Eagles. The Omega Double Eagles are gold coins, but they're made by a master forger who's known as the Omega Man because his Double Eagles had a tiny Omega symbol, but otherwise they were completely flawless. And the truth of the matter is nowadays those Omega counterfeits sell for more among collectors than the real deal because they're just such an interesting, that's just the way collectors markets work.
That's just not the exception.
It might happen. In the end, who knows, video games, the future.
So, Mark.
Mark.
An actual question. Have you ever seen a publisher get involved in the trail of one of these things where maybe you were doing research, we brought it to their attention, or they were, following up on it, and come after someone who had either purchased or was selling one of these to try to track it back?
I have seen a little bit about that, but they never really go full hog into any sort of legal action against. But sometimes, Christian,
there are at least 3 different cases of games that have been released on the aftermarket where an IP holder have come after the maker of whatever it is. Nintendo for sure went after Atari Age for Princess Rescue. Shadowhawk for the Super NES got sued by the creator of the comic. And then, like I talked about earlier, I haven't completely confirmed it, but I think Time Walk got shut down because of a cease and desist because of Nintendo of America. So they're kind of aware that this stuff's going on. It's just whether or not the makers get big enough to actually draw the attention of the IP holder to get them to come and crack down.
Obviously, if they can find the source, they're going to go after the source.
Wait,
Just wondering if you've ever seen somebody in between it kind of dragged in.
no. Aren't you an intellectual properties lawyer? Interesting.
Can I talk to you afterwards?
But like I said, the feds have finally noticed these sort of things, and it's been brought to their attention. And so I suspect big things are going to come this way soonish. So, fair warning. What's up?
What's the longest conversation or argument that you had over the legitimacy of a game?
Oh, years. It's called the internet.
I think there's one. Oh shit! What? Oh, well, yeah.
I don't want to talk about that. No, never mind. Not talking about that one because that one's still disputed and it's very hot and contentious and
and one of
Talking
the
with
people
Benny
might
Elliott?
be here at MAGFest. So
I have
I
no
mean, not
idea.
today. Well,
Shut up.
Talking with Benny
the
Elliott?
answer is
We're not
yes,
recording
people
or
are
anything.
blood for a long time.
and
Correct,
there
yes.
are some that like once they're sold, like you have no clue because there's nothing to go on. A lot of things with like a lot of prototypes in particular have a lot of inconsistencies between like
Builds.
like there's different like developers will use different chips, they'll use different boards, they'll like I mean you can kind of sort of find little like consistencies if you have multiple prototypes to go off of. But if you like say for example you had I'm just making up a game like
No, we should actually talk about the time that we went and talked to the guy that translated Earthbound.
oh yeah,
This is uncommon. This is knowledge nobody knows because we never released it to the public. In our little investigation, which we'll get around to. Cough, we're making a Kickstarter for the movie.
For example, and we can, I don't know, plug later. But I was talking at one point, it was actually a couple years ago, in a coffee shop with Phil Sandhop, the localization English scriptwriter for Earthbound Zero. And I remember talking to him about some of the prototypes, just because I had questions on how they made them and like stuff like that, so we knew what to go off of. And one little interesting thing that I'm not entirely sure about, but I know he said it and he seemed pretty confident about it, was that they used handwritten labels back then when they were making the prototypes to cover over the little spots on the EPROMs when they decided to
Basically,
do that.
EPROMs have a little window on the top of them, and if you shine UV light into it, it completely erases the data. So when they're making these prototypes that use EPROMs, they cover it up with a sticker to prevent it from being erased or corrupted.
So then that way they can send it off to like Nintendo game counselors to beta test, and then have them like once they fix typos and things like that, they can put another version on it. But yeah, so there are some things like there was word from at least like that section of Nintendo at that particular time used handwritten labels on their prototypes, and that is something that you can sort of use as a common thread if you have that word of mouth. But when there are things like chip inconsistencies from prototype to prototype, you can't use specific model numbers to be completely 100% sure.
In the end, you never really know whether or not what you're getting is going to be the genuine item. You just have to go off basically somebody's opinion.
Although there is one thing that I noticed that has been really solid for stuff like that, and this is of course still fakeable for all we know. There's ways of doing it, of course, is that there have been a lot of the batteries used on carts like have the year that they were made on it. So that way, if like a prototype had a battery that has 90 on it, then you'll know that it was made in 1990. So if you see a prototype that has like
2000,
yeah, like 2000 on there, obviously it wasn't going to be made in 1989. Unless there is like prior knowledge from one of the previous owners that the battery had died and they had switched it out, which can happen as well.
And some people, if they're completely crazy, when they buy rare items like that, and they end up building up a provenance trail, so you can trace back the lineage of who owned it and why, and what time they sell them. They keep, pretty much like everything about the shipping. They keep what it was shipped in. They keep receipts. They keep everything like that. They're named Christian. They hide it all in their attic. He's insane.
I told you guys that? I didn't think anybody knew that. Yes, I'm crazy, and anything that gets shipped to me, I break down the box and I keep in my attic so I have the address of the person that I got it from. I didn't realize they told me that.
Now you know. And that's actually a really good strategy if you're
Filling a
collecting.
hole in his life.
That's when, if you have enough attic space for all the cardboard, like go right ahead and do it, because that's actually really
So in the end, there's a lot of interesting specific things to specific games that are just tiny points of minutia that you yourself will have to sink tons of hours into looking into. And we're sorry that we wasted your time with this panel. You'll never do it back. But you can tell everybody that you saw this panel and that you learned something. When they ask what, say, I don't really know. That guy was kind of funny, but it went on for too long.
Just don't buy anything.
Don't buy anything. So, you guys can leave or whatever.
Oh, you want to do your little plug?
I'm emotionally done with this panel. But we were interested in, the reason why we did this panel is because we're super into finding out the histories of games. Like I said, we're game historians, and soon we are going to be launching a Kickstarter for a documentary talking about this sort of secret, untold history of, you know, the mother prototypes, Earthbound Beginnings, Beginnings, the movie. And it's going to be called Mother to Earth, and it's legitimately professional, unlike me. And, you know, it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys watch it or pirate it online, because I know you will, because you're all scum.
We'll Netflix it.
If somebody makes a reproduction of the DVD when it comes out,
I'll sign it.
Woo!
Sign it. I don't give a crap.
Not only will he
Anyways.
sign your bootleg DVD, but he will also take you off a frozen yogurt while signing it.
that I will not agree to.
So,
Well, I just made that.
I think we're done now. So
you can like go. You're free.
Yep.
Thank
Thanks
you
guys for
very
showing
much.
up. We really appreciate
You
it.
guys really put up with this. Like, this. Woo!
I'm a best.
Good night, everyone.
Let me turn the mics on.
And if you want, come up and ask us more questions. Or find out secrets about my life.